What's up, you guys? It's me, Tony Cluspis. Welcome back to my channel. And today, it's finally Fiction Friday. Yay! I'm just gonna get right into it, okay? So for today's Fiction Friday video, I am doing a book I just recently finished, and I think I can call it one of my favorite books. Really, truthfully, and honestly, this book has changed me in ways I'm not quite sure. It was such a beautiful story, and I gotta shut up and I gotta just start talking about it. The book I recently read was called I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, and this book, you guys, I don't think I can recommend a book any more highly than this one, because it's one of those books that it changes you, like I said, and there are ways that I don't know. I read it, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful story. One of the little line drops on the back says, "We'll pluck at your heartstrings" from People magazine. See, right there. Gosh, it's such a good story. Let me read you the summary that the book offers. It says, Jude and her twin brother Noah are incredibly close. At 13, isolated, Noah draws constantly and is falling in love with the charismatic boy next door, while daredevil Jude cliff dives and wears red lipstick and does the talking for both of them. But 3 years later, at 16, Jude and Noah are barely speaking. Something has happened to wreck the twins in different and dramatic ways, until Jude meets a cocky, broken, beautiful boy, as well as someone else, and even more unpredictable new force in her life. The early years are Noah's story to tell, the later years are Jude's. What the twins don't realize is that they each have only half the story, and if they could just find their way back to each other, they'd have a chance to remake the world. And that's just the basic premises. So right off the bat, you're expecting two timelines here. Young 13-year-old Noah and present day 16-year-old Jude, and that's just like kind of the whole premise for the story. So now that I've told you the summary of the story, let me just get into some reasons why I think you should really read this book. And just as a little disclaimer, not all of these talking points are original or my own. I did get some help from a friend of mine who also read the book. She's probably watching this video. Hi, Katie. And I want to thank her because she helped me get my thoughts together for this book, just because I have so many of them. One of the biggest things about this book and what it has going for it is that it's not the slowest book ever. In fact, it's just so jam-packed of story and everything that's going on in these twins' lives. It keeps going. It's like a snowball. It just keeps going down the mountain, collecting steam, and you keep reading it, turning the page, wanting to know what's happening, because it's so enthralling. It's such an enticing story. I will admit, like with every book that I ever read, I read about 20 pages the first day, and then I put it down for about a week or two, just because that's just how I read books. But when I picked it back up and really kind of got into it, I could not put it down. It is just an amazing book, and it's a page turner for sure. One of my favorite things about this book was it's young adult. And so in young adult, a lot of times romance sells. A lot of the young adult genre is just all about romance. And while this book does have romance, it's not solely about the romance, not solely about these two teenage twins falling in love. It's so much more than that. Yes, falling in love for them is important. Your first love is such an important milestone in your life, and it does play an important role in the book, but it's not solely about romance, and that's what I love. Don't get me wrong, I love a good romance story, but when the young adult world is just so flooded with nothing but romance stories, I'm kind of like, give me something new here, and that's what this does. It's about them coming together and being siblings again, and it's so beautiful to see. Now the book is told in first person. Both timelines are told in first person, so you're in Noah's head for 13-year-old story, and you're in Jude's head for the 16-year-old story, and you really feel like you are these people when you're reading the book. You want to care about Jude and Noah when you're reading them, because you're literally like in their mind. There are some parts of this book that kind of threw me off a little when I first picked it up, but you start off with Noah. His style is different from Jude's in the fact that you're just so in his imagination, and he thinks so differently than any one character I've ever read before. So you're in his head and you're seeing the world through Noah's eyes. The style, you just really see their inner thoughts, and that's what kind of helps you understand their character development, help you understand the story and the conflict that's going on. And Jandy Nelson did a great job. She knows her characters inside and out. You know Jude and Noah so well by the time you finish this book. It's got a lot of themes going for it. Like, the central theme is art. Like, these two characters are very artsy. Noah is an artist and Jude is a sculptor, or a kind of someone who works with her hands. And really what it's trying to say is that art has such a broad spectrum of things, and in this book it deals with how art heals, and that is really what the book is about. I was saying how it's not about romance, it's about Jude and Noah becoming together, and it's about healing that relationship. And that said, because at the start of Jude's story, their relationship is so non-existent, it has a lot to do with secrets and lies. That's another big theme of the book. Secrets and lies are throughout this book, and there are just some that kind of come out of nowhere and you're like, I was not expecting that. In the best way possible. Believe me, in the best way possible, you're thinking, wow, I did not see that coming. Even though, you know, secrets and lies are such big things, you know, no one likes to be lied to, and no one likes to have such a big secret kept from them. But what was so refreshing about this book was that when the big reveals were made from those secrets and lies, no one got that mad. You were expecting them, once the truth came out, once the secrets were done, you would expect them to just blow up, but they didn't. They were just like, oh, that makes sense now. I finally have my answers. I can let go of everything in the past that was troubling me because I finally have the truth. And again, that kind of leads into another theme. You know, the past is the past. Leave it there. Obviously, learn from it, but leave it in the past. Don't let it ruin your life. And you see that in so many characters, not just the two twins. You see that in almost every single character that comes out of this book. You see them letting go of the past and keeping it in the past and not letting it rule their future. Now, there are some things to consider. I can sing praises about this book, but there are some things that kind of make this a difficult read. One is, as I mentioned, the style. Noah's style is very unique. It's not totally foreign, like it's very close to like what you normally read in first person, but because you're so in his head, it's kind of a little off-putting. It's part of the reason what took me so long to get back into the book too. Like I said, I just read Noah's first little section and then I set it down because that's just, not only is that how I read books, but Noah's style and Noah's tone is just, it's so different from a lot of stuff that I've read. It was a little jarring, so you kind of got to get used to the style that Jandy Nelson is using with Noah and Jude. Because of that, this book really demands your attention. This isn't a casual read. There are a lot of details in the 13-year-old story and the 16-year-old story that are just so intertwined in many ways and in many unexpected ways that you have to pay attention. And obviously, pieces from the 13-year-old story are going to fit into the 16-year-old story. That's just how it goes since the 13-year-old story is in the past. But some things in the future help explain the past a little too. I think you see what's going to happen and it kind of just makes sense, I guess. Am I making sense here? I don't know. Take from that what you will. And the last thing, that it is a book that has a happy ending, and that's what I loved about it so much. That's another one of the things that I loved about it so much. But there's a lot of heartbreak. So much so that I almost considered that this book wasn't gonna have a happy ending. It's got a lot of pain and it's got a lot of emotion in it. And like the little back of the book said, it pulls at your heartstrings, and that's what it does. That's what the story does. Alright, so I think I've talked about this book enough. So if you're interested in this book, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. And if you have read this book, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you want to see more Fiction Fridays, go ahead and hit subscribe and you'll never miss one. That's all I have. I should really just shut up about this book because I can't really say anything other than I loved it so gosh darn much. It was just a beautiful story. Really sad at a lot of points, but really well written, and just it lends itself to a very beautiful story. That heartbreak leads to a very beautiful story. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Book reference.